What's good, YouTube? Or Storm here, coming at you guys with another video today. Today I'll be talking a little bit about a card that a lot of people have been talking about quite a bit, which is Crystron Needlefiber. So a lot of people have been talking about this card, like not wanting it released in the TCG because obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, you do see a lot of the combos. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about this card and why. In my opinion, it's more a sum of the greater issues around it, more so than itself. And of course we are gonna, and I'm going to compare it to a card which I remember being the same way. So not too long ago, I know it doesn't seem like a while ago, but I believe it was couple years ago when we got to Megatins. We got a card in an Elder Entity Norden. This card wasn't. Before this card was released, I believe it was one of the it was a Korean exclusive along with other Elder Entity cards, which ironically enough, a lot of them we just received last week, but this is the one that people really wanted to get their hands on. However, people saw a lot of the nutty kind of nasty combos this thing could pull off, with things like Fusion Gate and Blaze Phoenix, FTKs and whatnot. But then the card was released and it really didn't have a huge impact. When the thing was first released, we didn't have things like Totally Awesome and we didn't have things like that. So at most it was Instant Fusion, turned Instant Fusion into a one card rank 4. You didn't really play it in every deck. It was just a tech choice you could play to make an extra rank 4 on your board. And especially later on that year, we did get things like Trap Tricks with Flasia and a cheaper print of Giant Hand. So there were more things that this could go into, but for the most part, up until we got, Totally Awesome and Invasion Vengeance, the card really wasn't a huge problem. It was later limited and then banned subsequently, mostly because of Zoo and, the domestic abuse the card enabled. So that was one of the people did talk about Norden, but there's times where an OCG card does release and it doesn't have a massive impact immediately. It doesn't immediately break the game. But we all know the combos with Crystron Needlefiber are, I think the card is very similar for that reason. But the greater topic is what good does the card enable, and then some of the bad and then some of the really ugly stuff. So the good thing that Needlefiber does do, it does promote a lot of older decks to bring them back into a viable sense. Being easy to summon and being able to tutor tuners from the deck. There's so many good tuner monsters that this thing can tutor out of the deck. Obviously things like Glow Up Bulb, for example, but let's look at a deck like, DDDs, for example, a favorite of mine. This thing can tutor Lamia out of the deck, which is big because that will then proc you if you make Needlefiber with something like Ragnarok, the Pendulum Scale, or a Genghis sitting on the board, or an Alexander. You summon that Lamia, that will then proc all those special summon effects when Needlefiber summons the Lamia from the deck. That will then proc all your special summon effects, and it gives you a way to start your combos and keep them going early with minimal resources. And it does a similar thing for a deck like Yang Zings, or another great one of my favorites. It enables them to tutor things from the deck without Ding Long. The deck has a lot of trouble, even getting. There's not really a lot of efficient way to tutor things in the deck. Well, here you go. You got Needlefiber. And that's one of the things I think the good thing this card does is it helps those. That's what Electromite did for Pendulums, and that while Electromite is a stupidly strong card, as is Needlefiber, it helps a lot of because the Synchro mechanic is one of those things where for a lot of the really powerful Synchro monsters, you need multiple Synchro monsters on the board, and even so, this thing does enable some of those combos. But the bad of Needlefiber, and this is definitely a thing, the bad thing is that it does make things, combos, it does make things possible that weren't normally before. Even if you take out the ugly parts, which we'll get to in a minute, the things that it enables, even in a deck like Altergeist, if you can put, 2 Hyper Librarians and a Needlefiber on the board, you can then make a Cosmic Blazar Dragon, which is and draw 3 cards just because Needlefiber. And the bad thing is the fact that it can tag on the opponent's turn is another stupid powerful thing it does. And but the thing is, most of the time, if you're ending on a Needlefiber pass, that's not exactly the greatest play anyways. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing about the card. It's just a little bit more flexibility, being able to banish itself. But the thing is that the bad part is that it does really offer like extra disruption on top of everything else. But the ugly thing, the main thing is the Needlefiber hitting the board, much like Firewall Dragon. When it hits the board, shenanigans will ensue if it goes through, and it will end. It literally kickstarts the entire, all these entire really crazy combos. We all know, Crystron Needlefiber will summon the You can summon something like Jet Synchron or O-Line from the deck, then go into Summon Sorceress. Then Summon Sorceress can tutor another machine from your deck, and then you can make a Firewall Dragon, and it goes from there. So you typically are on a Goblin and a Firewall, and that's where all the shenanigans do begin. That is definitely the ugly thing about this card. But is that ugliness a source of Needlefiber, or is it a source of the other cards? I think that is a matter for debate. You look at the thing I always ask people about Needlefiber is, if, let's just say, Firewall Dragon doesn't exist, you making a Link 4 with one card is still pretty good, because there's other cards that are really good, like Skull Dread, Topologic Bomber Dragon, the Boral Dragons. Those are great cards. But is Needlefiber really an enabler of stupid combos without Firewall Dragon? I think that's a matter for debate. Don't get me wrong. Needlefiber with other things can still make a Skull Dread, and drawing 3 cards and putting 3 back is still pretty good, in being able to special summon things from your hand. And being able to pretty easily make Boral Sword to OTK your opponent is also pretty good. But at the same time, those combos really don't exist without, these other Link monsters. Needlefiber itself is a good card for obvious reasons, because you can tutor tuners from the deck that can then special summon themselves, which means you can extend on combos from there. That is the thing, the crux of the card design issue. But at the same time, it doesn't really snowball into those crazy combos without, these things like, Firewall Dragon and Summon Sorceress. So, in summary, to kind of in this video, I think Needlefiber has more good to offer for the game for the bad, provided Konami does do what they're supposed to do and get rid of Firewall Dragon on one of the next few ban lists before we get this card. Honestly, I think it would be a good thing for the game in the long run. Yeah, it might eventually, there could become a time where it does get banned, but at the same time, I think Needlefiber has more good to offer than the ugly or bad, at least in my opinion. So anyway, guys, about comes to the end of the video game. What do you guys think of Needlefiber? Would you rather just not see it at all, or would you rather, get your hands on it so you can play in some of your decks? Let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. So Orstorm, signing out.